Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Morning Live. My name is Vasiwe Ngobo. Now, the sport of rugby has found itself in the headlines once again. First, with news of Springbok captain Siyamthanda Kolisi possibly missing out on a chance to lead the Springboks when they defend their title as world champions later this year. And then former SA Rugby CEO Jurie Roux losing a High Court application against his former employer Stellenbosch University, resulting in Roux being ordered to pay back 37 million rand owed to the tertiary institution. To help us make sense of all of these stories, we've roped in sports journalist Khanyiso Tshwaku. Good morning, Khanyiso. Lovely to have you in studio.
Good morning, V. Good morning to the viewers.
Okay, so now before we get into the whole Jurie Roux story, I want us to talk about Siya Kolisi. What is actually the current status? We know that he is injured. He's seen a number of specialists. What do we know at this moment?
The current status is silent from SA Rugby and the Sharks. I suspect that it has a lot to do with the severity of the injury. It's not the first time Siya Kolisi has suffered a knee injury in a World Cup year. Same thing happened in 2019. It actually happened later in the season, around May. I think he got injured against the Highlanders, but he recovered in time for the World Cup. I think now with the severity of the injury, he has an option of letting it heal, which is a short-term 4 months, but that 4 months will then see him not play until at least the end of August, which means that he'll be caught cold in terms of playing in rugby. Remember that the Boks have the Rugby Championship in July. They've got the warm-up games in August. So if he goes the healing route, you'd find that he will cut it very fine from a fitness perspective. I think also one would want to avoid what happened with Jean de Villiers when he suffered that horrible knee injury against Wales in 2014. He had an operation. They was rushed back into what you'd call match fitness, and it was patently you shouldn't have gone to that particular World Cup. I think what SA Rugby and the Sharks are trying to avoid at the moment is to whether go for the op, because an op will effectively be a 9-month healing process that rolls him out of the World Cup effectively. So I think it's that catch-22 situation that has seen an unwelcome silence from both parties. Yes, the need to get other opinions is clear, is right, because you also want to make sure of the decision that you make and the consequences of that particular decision. But the silence is problematic indeed, because remember that he still needs to go to Racing Metro after the World Cup. So I think that could also be in mind.
So basically what we're looking at now is he's out for a couple of months if he has the surgery. Alternatively, it's just a healing, which would take less time, and he could possibly be ready for the World Cup. How important is Siya for the South African Springboks going into the World Cup?
First and foremost, Siya Kolisi picks himself as a player. He has specific KPIs that he meets so effectively as a loose forward, as a linkman, as a ball carrier, as someone who does a lot of scavenging on the ground. He runs wide on the tram lines. He meets his objectives as a player. So he's never in the past 2 years, especially with his move to the Sharks, his place in the team has never been in doubt from a playing perspective. The leadership perspective is growing into the role. I mean, we saw how assured he was in the British and Irish Lions season. I think he took his leadership to another level last year. So as a player and a captain, the Boks don't have a John Smith conundrum like they did between 2009 2011, where there was a better hooker, but John Smith was the better captain. Siya Kolisi is the best captain available and is the best player in this position. So it does lend a very big selection headache at this particular time should he miss out on the World Cup.
If he does miss out on the World Cup, who would you then see leading the troops?
Well, look, I think the option would then lie between a Dwayne Vermeulen or an Ebenezebeth or Andre Pollard. Andre Pollard has been the designated vice captain playing at fly-off, but you also remember that an Ebenezebeth has led the Springboks. Actually, he captained the Springboks in 2017 before Siya Kolisi then took over the mantle when Rassie Erasmus took over at the time as Springbok coach. So there's also Dwayne Vermeulen, who every so often has deputized, also a very senior player. So I think what the Boks aren't short of is leadership experience, but I think what they may miss is Siya Kolisi's charisma as a leader.
All right, let's move away from Siya Kolisi now and let's speak about Jurie Roux. So he's been ordered to pay Stellenbosch University 37 million rand. He's paying back the money. What is that current status? What is his defense, and why are we not seeing anything other than just pay back the money? Because it was clearly money that is not his. No criminal charges, nothing?
No, what needs to be remembered that even in the KPMG report that came out, I think, in 2013, it is stated that none of that money actually went into his personal account. What the issue here is that the money was moved without the consent of people above him. And I think that's where the problem lies. I think if you'd localize it from a political perspective and say whether it's at municipal or government level, it would be in contravention of the PFMA or the MFMA, which are contraventions that would see a person actually having to front up in a court of law. This matter hasn't been taken up in a court of law as so far yet. But I think the issue now lies that he was found to have moved the money without the particular consent of seniors, number one. And then number two, he actually lost the first arbitration award. That was the first part. He then lost the arbitration appeal award. So in now seeking relief at the Western Cape High Court earlier this year, he seeks to have those two particular awards overturned. That has now failed. So the only legal option I suspect that he has now is to either approach the Supreme Court of Appeal in Bloemfontein, and if that fails, then he approaches the Constitutional Court. So he's got the option stands. I mean, the judgment is very clear from Judge Vincent Saldanha that he needs to pay back the money. Even through the judgment, he does make it clear that the money was moved without the necessary
processes and authorities.
Yes, but now it's clear that the money needs to be paid back. Stellenbosch University have won every legal round now. So I think what will be interesting from Roux and his legal team now is what is the next. Are they going to say in public, we're throwing in the towel? We will now meet with Stellenbosch to find a particular payment plan to pay back this money, or they'll actually seek more relief at the Supreme Court. Yeah.
Oh, it seems like one that's still going to take a while. Well, Khanyiso, thank you so much for your time this morning. It's always a pleasure having you in Morning Live.
Thank you very much.
That is, of course, Khanyiso Tshwaku talking all things the Springboks, and, of course, Jurie Roux having to pay back the University of Stellenbosch 37 million rand. That's how we wrap up your sports news in this hour. Time now for an ad break. Your morning headlines coming your way straight after the break.